Rebirth of the Strongest Tycoon Chapter 1, Rebirth Xiangjiang. Xiangjiang Jiulong, a small remote fishing village. In the courtyard outside the simple bungalow, a long bamboo pole was erected, and a shiny silver fishing net was hung on the bamboo pole. A family of 5 was unraveling the small fish on the net. One of the 15 and 16-year-olds who are plainly dressed but still can't hide their heroic spirit is very agile and skillful, but the middle-aged woman beside him looks at him from time to time, with a worried look in her eyes. If you walk into the boy's face, you will find that his state is not right at this time, his eyes are absent, and his attention is obviously not on the action of the fish. It is hard to imagine that this is the case. He is still agile and there is no mistake. The boy is named Xiaoyu, the eldest son of middle-aged woman Chen Mei. He is 16 years old this year. He has been the pride of his parents since childhood, the role model of younger siblings, and the children of others. He is a famous child prodigy in the small fishing village. After Xiaoyu was born, he learned to walk and talk faster than normal children. After school, he became the number 1 in his homework exams, which has continued to the present. And this is achieved when a lot of time is spent helping the family, which is even more impressive. Actually, Xiaoyu's original name was not the present one, but Xiaoyu. The former has the same name as Xiyu, the founding monarch of the ancient Xia dynasty, and the Xia surname is also the same as the name of the Xia dynasty. The former is majestic and majestic, while the latter seems ordinary. It's also interesting, because Xia's father, Xia Dahai, has been a fisherman for generations. He has never read since he was a child. Xiaoyu was born on a rainy day, so he directly named his son Xiaoyu. Is just why Xiaoyu changed to Xiaoyu. This process is a bit mysterious. Since ancient times, child prodigies have always been entangled with unfortunate fate, such as Gan Luo, Chao Chong and others. And Xiaoyu seems to be the same. He has suffered from intermittent headaches since he was a child, his body is weak, and he seems to be dying prematurely. Xia's father and Xia's mother are very worried. They have spent all of their wealth and went to the hospital many times but can't find any reason. For this, Xia's father and Xia's mother are broken. In Xiangjiang, superstition prevails, down to the common people, up to the rich and high-ranking officials, and they all believe in these gods and ghosts. For this reason, Xia Dahai, who was really helpless, took his son to find the master. The master made a calculation and said that Xiaoyu was born from the sky above the stars and descended to the earth. He was born extraordinary and protected by the stars. It should have grown up healthily. However, he was born in rainy days, and moisture entered his body, which destroyed the origin. In addition, it was also named Rain. The rain was weak and the people were just like the name, which made Xiaoyu's body weak. Want to change, only to change the name. But changing the general name is useless. The master once again pinpointed a calculation. Yu is the same pronunciation. In ancient times, there was Dayu to control water, and the word Yu had the ability to suppress water. It is even more important to suppress rain. But because fate has been affected for many years, it takes time to affect it, and it is impossible to get better all at once. The superstitious Xia Dahai nodded repeatedly, and changed Xiaoyu's name to Xiaoyu. Not to mention, after the name was changed, Xiaoyu's body gradually became stronger. Although he still suffered from headaches, the frequency was greatly reduced. This made Xia Dahai believe in the words of the master, and everybody said thank the master. At the same time, what the master said about Wenkuxing was also widely spread. In addition, Xiaoyu really learned to excel, and he realized this title. Xiaoyu hadn't had a headache for 2 years, and Xia's father and Xia's mother thought that Xiaoyu was cured. I never thought that 3 days ago when Xiaoyu had a headache while pulling a fishing net, he fainted and fell into the sea. Fortunately, Father Xia hurriedly jumped into the sea and rescued Xiaoyu. It's just that after Xiaoyu woke up, he became taciturn, always blank, and didn't know what he was thinking. This scared Xia's father and Xia's mother and thought that something was wrong with him. But fortunately, other than that, Xiaoyu is still delicious, work and other things are the same as usual, and communication is no problem, which makes Xia father and mother a little relieved. It's just that Xiaoyu only likes to be alone in a daze, but the couple feel helpless. Perceiving his mother's expression and looking at her worriedly, Xia Yu smiled at her mother Chen Mei and said, "Mom, I'm fine, just want something." "That's good." Chen Mei nodded, her expression relaxed a little, then she stopped talking and continued to explain the fish on the internet. This is her character, not good at words, and is a typical Chinese woman's character. Xia Yu kept moving in his hands, even though it had been 3 days, he still couldn't believe what happened to him. He did not think that the rebirth and traversal things that are common in the novels in the previous life would happen to him one day. Xia Yu is also called Xia Yu in his previous life. He was an ordinary poor peasant child. He was the eldest of the 3 brothers in the family. He was also the eldest, and he was admitted to the university. However, in the face of Xia Yu's high tuition fees, and Xia Yu's 2 younger brothers were also in junior high school, it was the time to spend a lot of money, and Xia Yu's family's income could only rely on a few acres of land and the work of his parents, not so much money for Xia Yu to go to college. But reading is the only way out for the poor. In order for the children to stop digging in the soil with their faces facing the lus and back to the sky, Xia Yu's parents gritted their teeth to make money, and at the same time asked people to borrow money in a low voice for their 3 sons to go to school. It is said that the children of the poor take care of their homes early. After Xia Yu went to university, in addition to studying hard, in his spare time he gritted his teeth and did part-time jobs by himself and went to school by himself. At the beginning, it was not self-sufficient enough, but by the time of the 3rd and 4th year, there was even more money left for the family to support the younger brothers in school. After graduating from university, when his parents were seriously ill, Xia Yu took over the burden of the family and got up early to make money for his brothers to go to school and his parents for medical treatment. People are poor and have short ambitions. Xia Yu thought about love more than once, and also looked for it at the urging of his parents, but after learning about Xia Yu's family, he turned around and left. After that, Xia Yu stopped wishing for love anymore, and just wanted to cultivate 2 younger brothers with all his heart, so as not to let him repeat his mistakes. Xia Yu saw all kinds of bragging about the rich when surfing the internet, and even bragged a poem, "The richest man with nothing, regrets creating Ali Jackma." Brother Xiao Ma in an ordinary family does not know his wife and beauty Lu Qiangdong. At this time, Xia Yu is always speechless when he sees netizens kneeling and licking. He had imagined more than once in his heart that if he had so much money, he would definitely make them more fresh and refined than Boss Wang and Boss Ma. Is just this idea, and it can only be realized when dreaming. By the time he was 28, Xia Yu's 2nd brother had also graduated from college, and his 3rd brother had also taken an internship in his senior year. The health of his parents has also improved a lot. At this time, Xia Yu seemed to be very happy. He used to get a bit of Bitcoin in his idleness and he almost forgot. But once he read the news and found that the price of Bitcoin had risen to $20,000, he suddenly remembered that he seemed to have an account with more than 1,000 Bitcoins. After several turns, I finally found the account password. After logging in and seeing more than 1,400 Bitcoins lying on the account, Xia Yu was completely confused. According to the Bitcoin price at that time, it is worth 200 million yuan in RMB. I had the 2 small goals mentioned by the richest man Wang. Soon, Xia Yu sold all the Bitcoins for 200 million, and he was safe. Then immediately remitted 1 million to the family, and just explained it for several days. For this reason, Xia Yu could only put the other money away by himself, and did not dare to tell his parents. Suddenly become rich, and after so many years of depression, life has been ups and downs, and it is difficult to change my mentality. Xia Yu wanted to relax, so he went to a foreign Davos tour, and stayed in a 5-star luxury hotel in the evening. Who knew he heard a few loud noises in his sleep, and then the mountains shook. Lost consciousness in a daze. 3 days ago, Xia Yu discovered that he had become a teenager, and his mind was messed up, with many more memories. In the past few days, he had to sort out his memories and probably analyzed what happened. Only now, Xia Yu is not sure whether he was reborn here 16 years ago, only awakened his memory 3 days ago, or was reborn on the same young boy named Xia Yu 3 days ago. However, Xia Yu felt forward with a guess. Because the memory of this young boy Xia Yu was completely preserved, it made Xia Yu feel as if it had happened to him, without any discomfort. In addition, the young Xia Yu had headaches since he was a child and was a child prodigy. This is a kind of rebirth of a strong man, but because his soul is not strong enough, he cannot awaken the memory of his previous life. This time made Xia Yu think that he was reborn in the fantasy world. But immediately, recalling the memories of the young Xia Yu's 16 years, Xia Yu laughed at himself, thinking too much. This is properly the modern world, or Xiangjiang in the early 1978 of the Gregorian calendar. Although he is in modern society and was born under the red flag in his previous life, he does not believe in gods and ghosts, but he is sure that he is born again here, and science cannot explain it. Like Newton in his later years, Xia Yu could only attribute it to the immortal and throw him over, so he could only comfort himself. It is said that rebirth has golden fingers, and Xia Yu is no exception, not to mention the genius body of this life, with superb memory and analysis ability. Just talking about the large group of miscellaneous memories in his mind, Xia Yu sighed. If he became a dog in this life, the law of heaven would be too difficult to tolerate. Just because in Xia Yu's mind, in addition to the memories of his 2 lives, Yu reading www.yuyukangshu.com and the memories of other people in the hotel, although it seems that they have lost the memories of the lives of those big men, their abilities and the most essential parts, such as useful work information, seem to have been left behind and merged into Xia Yu's memory. Moreover, Xia Yu has a feeling that his brain seems to become very clear, like a computer class, and brain memory is like a hard disk. The memories of elites from all walks of life are divided into categories like files, stored in his brain memory hard drive, and can be quickly found out when he wants to use it. The memories of those elites from all walks of life really opened Xia Yu's eyes. Xia Yu sighed for his luck and accidentally stayed in that hotel. Because almost all the guests in this hotel are the top leaders who come to the World Economic Forum in Davos. They are all CEOs or executives of the world's top 500 giants such as banks, oil, military, internet, heavy industry, automobiles, and aviation. Their memories contain their extremely strong capabilities and many unknown secrets. It became Xia Yu's. Xia Yu didn't know what happened that night, but guessed that it might be an explosion or an earthquake. It is estimated that the casualties were heavy. He didn't know how the world would be shocked afterwards. After all, the dead were all powerful men. But he only knew that after sorting out these memories, he was completely shocked. This is why he is always in a trance. Anyone who has such an intangible wealth cannot completely calm down. Is the fusion of memories of Xia Yu and Yu. In his previous life, he had read a lot of novels with a lot of brains, and had a strong receptive ability to calm down. P.S. The new book has been released, it has been signed, and it can be collected with confidence. It is still the same type and the same taste. I would like to ask for your recommendation votes and collection support. Thank you. Rebirth of the Strongest Tycoon Chapter 2, I Want to Be a Tycoon. After eating at noon, Xia Yu taught his younger siblings to do homework. In this life, he has a younger brother, Xia Ming, who is 14 years old this year and is in the 3rd grade. A younger sister, Xia Xiaomei, is 12 years old this year, and is about to enter secondary 1 soon. Before the year of 2009, the junior and senior high schools were combined, and they were from the 1st to the 7th. Because of his genius brother as an example, and Xia Ming and Xia Xiaomei adore Xia Yu, his words are very useful. Self-improvement, coupled with the guidance of a genius brother, in this case, Xia Ming and Xia Xiaomei's academic performance is also very good, and they are both in the top 3 in the class. This situation made Xia Dehai and his wife overjoyed, lamenting that their family has been fishing for a living for generations, and it is finally time to make a fortune. Also because of their 3 sons and daughters, Xia Dehai and his wife have a lot of faith in the small fishing village. Even if people live better than their families, they actually look down on Xia Dehai and don't show it. No one wants to offend Xia Dehai's family. Only because the father depends on the son. After all, according to the current situation, even if the 3 brothers and sisters Xia Yu haven't made a fortune, no one can deny that the 3 brothers and sisters Xia Yu will change the destiny of their family. Reading is the best way for the poor to change their destiny. Throughout the ages, there have been countless poor students who have made their careers in school. Just after Xia Yu finished teaching his younger siblings, there was a loud shout outside the door, quite like Zhang Fei's roar. Xiaoyu, are you ready? Go. Hearing this familiar voice, Xiaoyu smiled, and came back with a sound. He walked quickly to the door and saw a strong figure. The person here is Xia Lei, Xiaoyu's good brother from childhood. Although he was only 17 years old, he was very strong and developed. At a height of 185 meters, it is hard to imagine that he almost starved to death when he was a child. Xia Lei's father and Xiaoyu's father are considered relatives and have a relatively distant blood relationship, but his father was killed when he went out to sea fishing when he was a child, and was raised by his mother. His mother couldn't make much money and couldn't go out to sea to fish, but Xia Lei was very good at eating, which caused their family to have a very hard life, and they had no rice to cook several times. And Xiaoyu has been very smart since he was a child, and he played well with Xia Lei. He always secretly took the family fish out and grilled them with Xia Lei, or made some other fruits to fill Xia Lei's hunger. Because of this, Xiaoyu and Xia Lei established a deep friendship. Another Xiaoyu's brain is so good, Xia Lei is used to listening to Xiaoyu's words, and his mother also hopes that Xia Lei will be with Xiaoyu, so that Xiaoyu can be used to influence Xia Lei and prevent his son from going out and learning badly with others. So, for so many years, Xia Lei Duo is Xiaoyu's loyal little brother. Unfortunately, since Xia Lei's mother fell ill a year ago, Xia Lei was forced to drop out of school. Xiaoyu was unable to keep Xia Lei in control at all times, which caused him to embark on a bad path for his livelihood. Xiaoyu wanted to control, but thinking of Xia Lei's mother's serious illness, several times he wanted to speak but was silent. After all, everything is due to lack of money. People are poor and have short ambitions. Facing the pressure of life, people sometimes have to bow their heads. Lazy, wait for me to get the things. No longer thinking about these sad things, Xiaoyu said something and went into the house with a bag of seafood and went out. This is the material they are going to barbecue. Ayu, why do you take so much? Uncle has to use it to sell money. Seeing Xiaoyu's large bag of seafood, Xia Lei is a fisherman after all. He immediately estimated the approximate value, and said in surprise. Xiaoyu smiled, my parents knew that the soldiers had been admitted to the police, so they pretended to say so much to celebrate. I told them not to pretend to be so much. It's just my parents' wishes. I can't refuse it, right? Hearing Xiaoyu's explanation, Xia Lei nodded and didn't say much. He knew the real reason was because he was good at eating. Xiaoyu's parents pretended to be so much. He is such an adult, and he spent a year outside. He also understands some of the worldly humanities, and now he understands many things that he didn't understand before. He was very grateful to Xiaoyu's family for their help. Talking and laughing all the way, Xiaoyu and Xia Jun met and found him holding a box of beer, waiting on the side of the road. Xia Jun is 18 years old this year. He is related to Xiaoyu's family. His grandfather and Xiaoyu's grandfather are brothers, so they are considered Xiaoyu's cousin. In addition, Xia Jun and Xia Lei are also related by blood, so Xia Lei is also called cousin Xia Jun. Xia Jun also played with Xiaoyu and Xia Lei. A proper trio, but basically they listen to Xiaoyu. Who makes Xiaoyu's brain the best? In the small fishing village, Xia Jun can be said to be the best young man besides Xiaoyu, but he was only concealed by Xiaoyu's light. However, a few days ago, Xia Jun was admitted to the police, and only then did the villagers wake up. In addition to Xiaoyu, there is still a Xia Jun in the village who is very promising. Ayu, Lei Zi, here comes. Xia Jun smiled and said hello. Xiaoyu and Xia Lei responded with a smile, and then the three of them walked towards the old place, where they had barbecue when they were young. When they arrived at the place, put down the food, the three of them got busy, and it didn't take long for the tempting aroma to be emitted from the grill. The three took a bottle of beer and blew it up. Congratulations, Brother Jun, I was admitted to the police, and I will call you Xia Sir. Xiaoyu held a bunch of grilled squid in one hand and beer in the other, and smiled at Xia Jun winkingly. Yes, Brother Jun, congratulations. I want you to cover it in the future. Xia Lei also said in his unique loud voice. Good brother for a lifetime. Xia Jun showed a sincere smile, and instead of saying thank you, he nodded and said, "Brother. It's done." The three of them slammed the beer bottles together, their eyes were full of seriousness, and then they raised their heads to dry a bottle. Ha ha ha. After drinking, the three of them glanced at each other and laughed. Just when Xia Yu was laughing, he quickly glanced at Xia Jun and Xia Yu. A dignified light flashed in his eyes. Although both of them are older than him, they have followed him since childhood. He is the actual eldest brother. Now that both of them are out, he is not worried that they will change their attitude towards him, but rather worried about the relationship between the three brothers. From the moment Xia Jun was admitted to the police, the relationship between the three brothers began to become complicated. After all, the two of them walked in completely opposite directions, one is black and the other is white. Destined to be an antagonistic relationship. Unless one stops and retreats. But this is not realistic. This is their way. They have their own parents behind them. Even Xia Yu can't force them to do anything. Forget it, don't think about it, there should be a way, as long as I rise up, under my intervention, these are minor problems. A thought flashed in Xia Yu's mind. After, the three happily ate barbecue and drank beer. After drinking and eating, the three of them cleaned up and walked towards the top of the mountain. This has become their habit. After every barbecue, they like to stand on the top of the mountain and look out at the sea. That moment is truly relaxing. The three stood side by side on the top of the mountain, the refreshing sea breeze blowing on their faces, watching the vast sponge, enjoying this relaxed and happy feeling. Below the mountain is the busy Victoria Harbor. On the opposite side of the sea, there are many tall buildings and busy piers, making it a bustling scene. And over there, the magnificent Peninsula Hotel stands there. The scenery here is still beautiful, I feel very relaxed every time I come. Xia Jun said with emotion. Xia Yu and Xia Lei nodded in agreement. At this time, Xia Lei's eyes flashed with longing, and Yu Yu reading www.yuyukangshu.com suddenly said, "You said, we stand on the mountain and look at Victoria Harbor so beautiful. If we stand on the top floor of the Peninsula Hotel and look down, we will what is it like?" As soon as this remark came out, Xia Jun's eyes flashed a trace of doubt, and some longing, muttered, "I don't know, it should be very beautiful." Xia Jun and Xia Lei both looked at Xia Yu involuntarily and wanted to hear his opinion. This was their habitual reaction, and they wanted to hear Xia Yu's opinion on many things. Xia Yu looked at the two people who were full of longing and yearning, then looked at the Peninsula Hotel in the distance, and said with a smile, "Does it look good? We only know when we go up. Can we go up? I heard that those who can go up are tycoons." Xia Jun blurted out, but his tone was full of uncertainty. "Yes, if I can go up once, I will be satisfied in my life." Xia Lei said with emotion, eyes full of yearning. "Yes." Xia Yu said firmly. Hearing what he said, Xia Jun and Xia Lei both looked at him and found that his face was full of seriousness. They didn't question, and nodded heavily. Since Xia Yu said yes, then it must be. Although it is very difficult in their opinion, they have no confidence at all, but they believe in Xia Yu. He said that he could not run away. After all, since childhood, Xia Yu never broke his promise. Looking at the trusting gazes of the two, Xia Yu felt a little emotional, his eyes were a little blurred as he looked at the prosperous Peninsula Hotel in the distance, and his thoughts diverged. Thinking of the wandering of the previous life, the unrealistic fantasy, and the priceless memory in the mind of this life, Xia Yu's eyes instantly became firm, and his fists clenched unconsciously. "Big man, if you can't live and eat, you will cook as if you die. In this life, I want to be a tycoon." Rebirth of the Strongest Tycoon Chapter 3, Searching for the Qin. In the evening, Xia Yu's family ate dinner. Xia Dahai asked suddenly, "Ayu, have fun with Junzai and the others this afternoon?" Xia Yu looked at his father and mother, nodded and said, "I am very happy. After the army has passed the police test, Chuanlian and his wife will be able to enjoy a good fortune in the future." Chen Mei said with some envy. Chuanlian, she said, is Xia Jun's mother, and she has a very good relationship with her. That was what they deserved. It's hard to raise the army. Don't envy you. You must be more promising. Xia Dehai glanced at his wife and said with some displeasure. Yes, our family AU is the most promising. Chen Mei was not angry, but cheerfully echoed her husband's statement, looking at Xia Yu with expectation and pride. Aiming, Xiaomei, you study hard, and I will be happier like your elder brother. Xia Dehai suddenly said to the younger son and daughter who were eating silently. I see, Dad. The siblings nodded seriously. Xia Yu looked at his parents, who were only in their early 40s, with their white hair and faces full of vicissitudes, and she couldn't help but feel sad. He also remembered his parents in his previous life. They were also in their prime of life, but they showed their oldness early because of the wind and rain. I don't know how sad they will be when they learn the news of the death of their eldest son in another world. Thinking of this, Xia Yu feels confused. Fortunately, he has two younger brothers, both of whom have grown up. They will surely be able to replace his parents in his previous life, and he also has 200 million in exchange for selling bitcoins, which are hardly spent and can be left to his family. The two younger brothers must be able to marry a good wife, and the parents can have a good rest. This is the only thing Xia Yu can do. My parents in this life are also my parents, I must let them live a good life. Xia Yu thought to himself. By the way, did Xia Lei also go today? Chen Mei said to Xia Yu again. Xia Yu glanced at his father and found that he also looked over. He understood what his parents meant when he asked them, and nodded without saying much. Poor Luo Yan, a man managed to pull his son so big, but he fell ill, and his son was also in the society. Hey, you, don't go so close to Xia Lei in the future. He didn't come into contact with good people, don't affect you. Chen Mei warned Xia Yu with some worry, for fear that his proudest son would be influenced by Xia Lei. Xia Yu glanced at his mother, then looked at his father, and found that his lips moved slightly. In the end, he didn't say anything, but his eyes revealed worry. Although he didn't agree with his mother in his heart, he nodded and did not refute his parents, lest his parents worry. Seeing Xia Yu nodded, Chen Mei only smiled and murmured, that's good, study hard, you will definitely be admitted to college, and your dad and I will help you to go to college if we work hard. Hearing his wife said that his eldest son could be admitted to college, Xia Dehai's simple and honest face also showed a happy smile, agreeing with his wife's words. It was a strange thing that when Xuxing could not pass the college entrance examination. Looking at the happy parents, Xia Yu's throat was surging, and the corners of his eyes were a little sour, and he was very unhappy. How similar. When I was admitted to college in my previous life, my parents had such a heartfelt smile on their plain faces. It's just that this life is destined to disappoint my parents. Because Xia Yu has already thought about dropping out of school these days. After all, the purpose of studying is to change the destiny of the family and oneself. As for the memory of two lives and other memories, he already had the ability to change, and he was still extremely capable. In his rebirth eyesight, this era is full of gold, and he has no time to spend in school anymore. If he chooses to continue to study and learn the things he has already mastered, but stays at Baoshan without entering, he is truly sorry for himself. Sorry family. It's just that how to change the parents' minds and convince them to agree that he dropped out of school is the real problem. Xia Yu can imagine that if he just said that he stopped reading, his parents would definitely collapse. Not to mention whether they can stand the gossip in the village, but the collapse of belief for more than a decade will cause serious harm to them. The strongest damage to a person is not physical damage, but damage to his spiritual beliefs. Looking at the smile from the heart on the wrinkled faces of his parents at this time, as a son of man, Xia Yu could not tell. It seems that only by accomplishing a career before the beginning of the next semester, can you convince your parents, and also calm other people in the village, and reduce the impact of dropping out. A trace of thought flashed in Xia Yu's eyes, and he thought silently. Fortunately, the winter vacation has just begun, and there are more than 50 days before the start of the next semester. It is now at the beginning of 1978 on the Gregorian calendar, and there is more than a month before the Lunar New Year in 1977. Time is pressing. Action must be taken now. After eating, Xia Yu returned to the room and began to think about what to do. I have the memory and ability of a financial giant. It is very easy to make money in the stock market, foreign exchange market, and futures market, especially in Xinjiang. After all, this is not Wall Street where elites gather, but first of all I need to have funds. This is no way. I have the management ability and memory of the world's top 500 CEOs. I am definitely not inferior to Li Chaoren and Bao Yugang. I am fully capable of getting high salaries. But this requires a resume. My age and academic qualifications are flawed and cannot be proved. No way. I have top-notch marketing skills, but the same age is a problem. I can't reach the senior level. I can only make a small amount of money if I try my best. I don't have enough time, so I can't. After thinking about many methods, Xia Yu felt helpless. A clever woman can hardly cook without rice. In the final analysis, I don't have the initial funds now, which has caused me to have an empty treasure, but I can't use it. It's so embarrassed. After thinking about it, Xia Yu was a little aggrieved and very annoyed. No wonder that after Grassroots became a billionaire, they said that the hardest thing to make is the first million. If Xia Yu had 1 million, he would definitely not be so annoyed as he is now. Many abilities can be used and he can make money in different ways. Instead of being so helpless and worrying about the first barrel of blonde hair. A somewhat irritable Xia Yu walked back and forth in the room, and suddenly glanced at a novel on the bedside. It was Jin Yong's The Legend of the Condor Heroes, a novel that Xia Yu liked very much before. Fiction. Wait, I remember there seems to be the memory of a great online novel. Xia Yu said in surprise, then quickly flipped through the memory to find the memory of the great online novel. I found it. Ling Yun, the great of online novels, the representative of the great of hard work, has been on the street for 15 years. He has read all kinds of novels, from martial arts to fantasy immortals, looking up all kinds of information, ancient and modern, China and foreign countries have been involved, and finally broke into a god. Is him. Look at his memory, he loved martial arts novels since he was a child, read Jin Guliang Huangwen's novels, and read all kinds of fantasy and fairy xia novels about the fires of previous lives. It's just that in this era of martial arts style, immortal heroes and fantasy are written without a reputation, it is difficult to guarantee that they will be popular, the risk is quite high, there is no time to waste, eliminate. Then you can only choose martial arts. The one that can guarantee the greatest fire is the master's work, Jin Guliang Huangwen. But now Jin Yong has already closed his pen. Gulong fell ill last year, and his works have already been written. Yang Yusheng's works have almost come out, when Rian's, for famous catch, series are already being written, only Master Huang is still there. Specializing in traditional Chinese painting, he won't quit his job until 1989 and start painting. That's him. Xia Yu quickly decided to use Master Huang's works. It may be because of the fusion of memory. Xia Yu's brain seems to be developed a lot, and his memory ability is very powerful. It is almost impossible to say that he is not forgetting. And the brain is like a computer, the memory is very clear, you can remember what you want to recall, so you can remember the novels that Ling Yun has read clearly, as if they were an e-book. Master Huang has, Covering the Rain and Turning the Clouds, Legend of the Great Sword Master, Time and Space Waves, Interstellar Prodigal Son, Sun Qin Ji, Broken Void, Super Warrior, The Legend of Double Dragon of the Tang Dynasty, etc. Wait, there are so many creations. Worthy of being a master of martial arts. Looking for the Qin Dynasty, The Legend of the Double Dragon of the Tang Dynasty, and Overturning the Rain and Turning the Clouds have been put on the screen by TVB, all of which have been well received. In order to facilitate future adaptations, I chose them from here. They are also Master Huang's most famous works. Just, which one should I choose? 1.6 million words in Looking for the Qin, 3.8 million words in The Legend of Double Dragon of the Tang Dynasty, and 2 million words in Overturning the Rain and Turning the Clouds. Time is pressing, and there are fewer words to operate. In that case, let's start with the shortest, Sun Qin Ji. After Xia Yu decides, Yu reads www.yuukangshu.com immediately turned over the notebook, took out a pen, and wrote 3 big characters, Sun Qin Ji, on the notebook, and then began to write quickly. Of course, Xiaoyu also made some deletions and modifications for some of the content that is not suitable for children in the book, so that the plot can be smoothly connected. Because the content of Sun Qin Ji is fully remembered in his mind, except for a small part of the content that needs to be revised, Xiaoyu is almost completely copying it, and it is faster than copying. After all, it is not used to turn back. As long as one sentence is copied, the next sentence is in his mind. There is no need to stop wasting time. 3 hours passed. During this time, Chen Mei saw Xiaoyu at the door writing, thinking that his son was studying hard, so he did not come in to disturb Xiaoyu, but gently closed the door to avoid the noise outside affecting his son. Learning. 3 hours later, Xiaoyu's hands were sore. He paused and took a long breath, shaking his hands, and said with emotion, "The hands are almost gone, and the body is not good. It seems that I will exercise in the future. It just happens to have the memory of top bodyguards. You only need to exercise according to professional experience and it won't be a problem." Looking at the dense text on the desktop, Xiaoyu smiled comfortably. "Hey, I copied nearly 10,000 words in 3 hours. The average person only took about 45 words per minute, and only 2,700 words per hour without stopping. I actually reached about 3,300 words per hour, with an average of 55 words per minute. Words, good. The Sun Qin Ji has a total of 26 volumes, with an average of 60,000 words per volume. Please copy 3 volumes and submit your manuscript. At this rate, you can copy 13 to 15 hours a day, and you can copy 3 volumes in 4 days. After determining the goal, Xiaoyu was full of energy, and after a short rest, he devoted himself to the great career of creation. Rebirth of the Strongest Tycoon Chapter 4, Post-Support. Time flies like a white horse, and 4 days pass by in a flash. Looking at the thickly collapsed manuscript of the novel, Looking for the Qin, Xiaoyu has a sense of accomplishment. Although this novel is not his original, it is not easy to copy it out. The first 3 volumes contain about 190,000 characters. It takes 4 days to copy it out, which is difficult for ordinary people to do. It's time to submit a manuscript. Xiaoyu muttered over a thick pile of novel manuscripts. Then, Xiaoyu took the school bag and carefully packed the manuscript, said hello to his parents, and went out. In the past 4 days, in addition to being busy with writing, Xiaoyu did not waste his free time. He has already considered the issue of submission. The most direct way to benefit from a novel is to publish it, but in the absence of a reputation, it is very difficult to publish and the royalties are very low. Even if it is successfully published, the probability of hitting the street is very high. After all, the smell of wine is also afraid of the deep alley. Xiaoyu still has self-knowledge, and will not think that he is a rebirth. When the domineering spirit disappears, the publisher worships, the dealer kneels, and the readers gather. This situation is completely impossible. Even if it depends on the quality of the work, word of mouth will be gradually formed after publication, and eventually it will be a big fire, but Xiaoyu has no time to wait. Therefore, direct publishing is not an option. But fortunately, Xianjiang published novels in popular newspapers at this time, and published them when they became famous. This model is not only conducive to newspapers, to help them attract users, it is also conducive to publishing houses, helping them to screen excellent works, reducing risks, and saving publicity costs. At the same time, it is also conducive to authors by charging more money. It can be said to be profitable. So Xiaoyu also intends to follow this rule, submit articles to the newspaper, and serialize it in the newspaper. Since I intend to serialize it in newspapers, the choice of newspaper is particularly important. In Xianjiang, there are not many other things, but the most newspapers. Because the threshold for running a newspaper is low, as long as you have money, you can run a newspaper. Therefore, various newspapers are emerging one after another, and it is the most densely populated area in the world. Among them, the mainstream newspapers include Oriental Daily, Ming Pao, Hong Kong Economic Journal, Sing Tao Daily, Ta Kung Pao, Cheng Pao, South China Morning Post, etc. Among these, Oriental Daily is a grassroots newspaper, the Hong Kong Daily is aimed at senior intellectuals, and Ming Pao started from grassroots, but relying on Jin Yong's sharp comments, it has been popular among intellectuals for so many years. Sing Tao Daily targets the middle and lower classes. The South China Morning Post is the largest English-language newspaper in Hong Kong. For Xiaoyu, the English newspaper South China Morning Post was first excluded. And because his purpose of writing novels is to make money quickly, under this premise, the more influence he can have, the better, whether it is the treatment of his next book or the subsequent publication and adaptation of Sun Qin Ji, etc., it is more beneficial. Moreover, the audience of Sun Qin Ji is the grassroots masses, so newspapers that are not aimed at the masses are also excluded. Thinking about it this way, Ta Kung Pao, Hong Kong Daily, and Sing Pao also ruled it out. Then there are only Ming Pao, Sing Tao Daily and Oriental Daily. At this time, the top 3 sales are Oriental Daily, Sing Tao Daily, and Ming Pao. Ming Pao ranked 3rd, with an average daily sales of around 130,000. Compared with the top sales in the peak period, one of the reasons is that Jin Yong has already closed the pen and lacks the novels of the martial arts masters comparable to Jin Yong. Although he has risen from the grassroots, Jin Yong has focused on knowledge in recent years. The elements who want to realize their political ambitions ignore the grassroots, so their influence among the grassroots has been relatively weakened in recent years. But as long as Jin Yong comes out again, or there are master-level martial arts masters' works, the sales will definitely skyrocket again. Sing Tao Daily belongs to the Sing Tao newspaper industry. It was founded by Hu Wenhu in 1938 and is now controlled by his daughter Hu Xian. Hu Xian has also become the queen of the newspaper industry. Now the average daily sales volume of Sing Tao Daily reaches 160,000 copies. Over the decades, channels have spread throughout Southeast Asia. And the Oriental Daily is completely rooted in the grassroots. It was founded by Ma Jia in 1969. Later, it has been claimed that it has been the #1 sales volume for 35 years, with a maximum of 530,000 copies, covering more than 3.4 million people. Oriental Daily is the mouthpiece of the Ma family's self-protection and a tool for whitewashing. But I have to say that they did manage to run the newspaper with their heart, and the client base they faced was large, so the sales are the highest now, with an average daily sales of 170,000 copies in this era. In addition to the sales factor, Xiaoyu also considered the contribution fee. Although the novel will be well known in Ming Pao, Mr. Jin is famous for his treatment of authors in Xiangjiang. Xiaoyu does not prioritize fame now. What he needs is money, as much money as possible, so Xiaoyu didn't put Ming Pao first. The reason why the sales of Sing Tao Daily is so high is because of its wide sales channels, covering the entire Southeast Asia. In addition, the boss Hu Xian is known as the queen of the newspaper industry and is notoriously strong. Xiaoyu did not put Sing Tao the Daily as the top priority. As for the Oriental Daily, Ma's family has always wanted to develop the Oriental Daily better, plus the latest establishment, the most inadequate background, the most important one is the bad reputation of Ma's family. The writers are all literati. Most of the famous writers cherish feathers and disdain to associate with Ma's family, which led to the unsatisfactory collection of novels by Dongfang Daily. For this reason, Oriental Daily can only rely on money, hoping to attract more submissions, and see if we can select better novels. Therefore, the manuscript fee given by Oriental Daily is the highest. Fame and profit can be provided by the Oriental Daily, and both have an advantage. Of course, Xiaoyu has the priority to contribute to the Oriental Daily. Changing cars all the way, Xiaoyu finally came to the door of the Oriental Daily building. Looked up at the signboard of Oriental Daily, Xiaoyu showed a confident smile and strode inside. Walked to the front desk, Xiaoyu said to the receptionist, "Hello, I have written a novel and want to submit it. What is the process?" The receptionist was still taken aback when he saw Xiaoyu coming in. After all, Xiaoyu was just a teenager. At this time, he heard that Xiaoyu was here to contribute. He blinked and made sure that he had heard it correctly. He was a little surprised and couldn't help but smile. Inwardly, he sighed that Xiaoyu was unable to do anything, but he did not laugh in person. Pointing in one direction, he said, "Post to those rooms, all of them." "Okay, thank you. Xia Yu said thank you and walked to the room pointed by the receptionist. Looking at Xia Yu's back, the receptionist smiled and shook his head and said, it's better to use money. The president released the news to collect papers at a high price. For the money, everyone is coming to contribute. Now even the children are here. I really think money. They are so easy to pick up. What good novels can children write, aha. Of course, Xia Yu didn't hear the receptionist's contemptuous words. He had already arrived at the door of an office with the words manuscript reading room on the door. From the outside, you can see a middle-aged man looking down reviewing manuscripts, and his desk is full of novel manuscripts, like a hill. After knocked on the door, the middle-aged man didn't look up, and said impatiently, the door is unlocked, just come in. Hello, I'm here to contribute. Xia Yu didn't care about his tone, walked in, said, and took out a thick stack of novel manuscripts from his school bag. At this time, the middle-aged man finally raised his head when he heard someone submitting a manuscript, but after seeing Xia Yu, his face changed a bit, he cursed in a low voice, and then became even more impatient. Yu reading www.akanshu.com directly put it on the table and went back to wait for the news. Then he lowered his head and continued to review the manuscript without even looking at Xia Yu. Seeing the contemptuous attitude of the middle-aged, Xia Yu clenched his fists and clenched his teeth, making him very upset. However, he could only endure what he wanted, put the manuscript on the top of the pile of manuscripts, said thank you, and went out. After exiting the door of Oriental Daily, Xia Yu shook his head somewhat self-deprecatingly. Although he had been mentally prepared, he was still very unhappy. Before coming, considering his age, Xia Yu analyzed that he might be underestimated. After all, there is no shortage of people in this world who judge people by their appearances. He didn't expect to encounter such people. Forget it, it's over anyway, I'd better buy some more notebooks, and write as much as possible while waiting for the news, so I can get more money at once. Xia Yu murmured, and then prepared to buy pens and paper. He has not considered the situation that the manuscript is not acceptable. After all, this is the work of the martial arts master. How could it not be published? It's a pity that things are contrary to expectations. Xia Yu didn't consider that in this world, after all, there are always thousands of horses but not bull. After Xia Yu left, the middle-aged reviewing editor picked up Xia Yu's novel draft and browsed it. When Xiang Xiaolong crossed to the Qin dynasty, he smiled disdainfully. Mao did not grow up and learned how to write novels. I still write about Qin dynasty. I don't even know what Qin dynasty is, what a little kid knows, what kind of messy crossing, silly writing. The middle-aged reviewing editor flipped through it a few times at random, sneered, and threw it aside, where it was the pile of failed manuscripts. There are still so many novels to be reviewed, most of them are rubbish, and it is annoying to read, %*. The middle-aged editor rubbed his eyes, looked at the pile of manuscripts on the desktop, cursed, and continued to review the manuscript. Rebirth of the Strongest Tycoon, update time plan, 2 updates per day. The book is stable twice a day. It is tentatively scheduled at 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. If it will be changed in the future, we will notify you separately. Brothers will not wait in vain. Thank you for your support. Also, it is really important to ask for a recommendation vote cheeky, and it takes a big part in calculating the points ranking. Thank you. I wish everyone a happy life. Smiley face. Rebirth of the Strongest Tycoon Chapter 5, Think of a Way First. 5 more days later, Xia Yu finished the manuscript of 230,000 words, plus the previous writing, the total is 420,000 words. Only at this time, Xia Yu is not in the mood to write. He waited for so many days and there was no news. His small explanation was placed on the top. According to his estimation, it should have been reviewed long ago. 5 days were enough for them to get news, but now there is no news. He doesn't believe that Sun Qinji will be buried. After all, the quality is there. As long as you watch it, you can't be buried. Unless, that person didn't even look at it because of my age. Xia Yu suddenly thought of a possibility. Combined with that person's attitude, the more he thought about it, the more possible it became. I don't have so much time to waste, let's go and check it out. If it's really not, then I will get the novel manuscript back and think of other ways. Xia Yu calmed down, thought about it, and set off to the Oriental Daily's headquarters. Coming to the outside of the Oriental Daily building again, Xia Yu walked directly inside, found the office, knocked on the door and walked in. Hello, have my manuscript been reviewed? Seeing that the middle-aged editor was having tea with a younger man, Xia Yu walked over and asked straightforwardly. Seeing Xia Yu coming again, the middle-aged man retracted his gaze and continued to talk to another person. He pointed his finger at a large pile of manuscripts in a corner and said, "No, take it back by yourself." After finishing talking, the middle-aged man did not even look at Xia Yu, and continued to chat with another person. Seeing the attitude that the middle-aged editor ignored, Xia Yu's heart became angry, but he was too lazy to argue. It was a loss for the Oriental Daily that he didn't take a look at Sun Qingji, and it was just a waste of his many days that he was damned. I'd better find the original manuscript first, after all, it took 4 days. Xia Yu walked to a pile of manuscripts, searched quickly, and finally found some wrinkled manuscripts underground. He didn't say much. He picked up the manuscript and put it back in his school bag, gave the middle-aged editor a cold look, and then headed. Going out without going back, don't want to waste time saying a word. For a person who is cold-faced to him, why should he go and whisper? It is completely unnecessary. I have to say that the very different attitudes of Xia Yu and the other people who were drafted made the two people chatting in the office a little surprised. Then the middle-aged editor felt a little embarrassed in front of his colleagues, and snorted coldly, "Pump on the street boy, you can't even learn to write novels as a person." While scolding Xia Yu, he didn't think about it, because he didn't know how to be a man. Oh. Seeing that he is only 15 or 16 years old, let's write a novel. I really want to see what he writes. Another younger man said with a smile on his face. He was a little curious. What did the young man write? It was the first time he had met him who had written novels at such a young age and had the courage to contribute. The young man's attitude made the middle-aged editor a little uncomfortable. He said demeaning, "What's so beautiful? If you haven't learned the history well, write about Qin dynasty." The protagonist seems to be called Xiang Kalong. A modern person, he's still doing things through, messy. Seeing that the middle-aged editor was a little uncomfortable, the young man stopped talking about it. After all, he was the same editor and the middle-aged editor had older qualifications. There was no need to make trouble because of this small problem, so he immediately changed the subject. Is just a young editor thinking to himself, modern people have traveled to the Qin dynasty. It's interesting. I just want to see this point. Unfortunately, he took the manuscript back. Let's talk about Xia Yu. After walking out of the Oriental Daily building, he clenched his fists, flicked hard, vented a few curses, and then thought about the problems he was facing now. You can try the Oriental Daily in Ming Pao, but it's been 9 days now. And there is a precedent in the Oriental Daily, and it may be possible that Ming Pao will look down on people and have this risk. If another 5 or 6 days is wasted and the draft is not enough, then it will be troublesome. Moreover, as my newcomer, the author's remuneration will definitely be suppressed very low. It may only be 10,000 words, even if the maximum 1,000 words is 20 or 400,000 words, it is only 8,000 Hong Kong dollars. The funds are too small and it will be very short in a short time. It's hard to do a career. Calculating this way, the submission can no longer solve my problem. Moreover, I suddenly didn't want to publish Sun Qingji. I was at a loss. Only by running my own business can I eat all the benefits. You can publish it yourself, hey. Xia Yu thought unwillingly. Although Sun Qingji came easily, Xia Yu would not waste its value. Qualified merchants will fully dig out the value of a commodity until it is drained. I have to say that it seems to be affected by other memories, and those memories are mostly those of top elites and capitalists, so Xia Yu also unknowingly thinks about problems in this direction, turning to the direction of a qualified capitalist. But this is a good thing. Now, I have to think of a way to obtain an initial capital in the shortest time and complete the original accumulation of capital. Xia Yu murmured. Think more seriously and see who has memories that fit the current situation. Xia Yu thought as he got on the bus. Memories kept jumping in his mind. When he was almost home, Xia Yu finally found the way he wanted. As soon as he got out of the car, he yelled in excitement, and then quickly ran towards a small shop. "Boss, bring me a set of dice and a deck of cards," Xia Yu said directly to the shop owner. The owner of the commissary is an elderly person. He pushed his glasses and looked at Xia Yu with excitement on his face. He shook his head, took out a pair of dice and a pair of cards and handed it to Xia Yu. After collecting the money, the boss couldn't help but exhorted, "Beauty, don't go gambling, gambling will ruin the family." I see, Yu reading www.yuukangshu.com. Thank you for reminding me that I bought it for someone else. Xia Yu glanced at the boss and said gratefully, then took the dice and poker and left. Looking at Xia Yu's back, the commissary owner sighed and shook his head. He seemed to lament that a young man had gone astray. After returning home quickly, Xia Yu took a bowl and went out. The sound of shaking dice at home was too loud and would be noticed by his parents, causing unnecessary trouble. Came to a clearing, Xia Yu closed his eyes and recalled his memories and experiences. When he opened his eyes, the whole person seemed to change a different temperament. He covered the bowl on the dice board and shook it quickly. At the beginning, Xia Yu always shook his head, but after a while, a smile appeared on his face. Every time he opened a bowl, the numbers were very interesting. There were 1 to 3 SXS, or 123 straight. Wait, you can shake almost anything you want, as if the of gambling is alive. After, Xia Yu took out his playing cards and started playing again. The more he played, the more proficient he became, the more and more tricks he shuffled, the more flexible his fingers, and the ability to issue special cards every time he was dealt. After the cards were dealt again, they opened the poker, and there were 3 aces. Ha ha ha. Xia Yu laughed loudly, his eyes full of confidence, and the troubles of so many days disappeared completely. Thanks to the memory of the master, I didn't expect that there is a master gambling player living in that hotel. This will make me perfect. Ha. Seeing that it was getting late, Xia Yu put away the dice and poker, and walked home. P.S. I didn't follow the routine. I feel that copying and submitting manuscripts is too cliché, and the protagonist also suffers. How can the protagonist do something that suffers, and it will make everyone unhappy, so I changed the way and hope everyone is satisfied. Rebirth of the Strongest Tycoon Chapter 6, The Sledgehammer Test 2. The next day, Xia Yu brought more than 100 yuan of change that had been saved over the years, and after talking to his parents, he walked towards the destination. Although he has been a good student all these years, he has not mixed up with people in society, and he has never been to a casino. But in this era, everyone knows about the situation in Xiangjiang. A mixed society is a way out for many candidates, and many students have turned into social workers. So Xia Yu inevitably met with these people and heard the content of their chats, so he knew the location of many gambling houses. When planning to earn the first pot of gold by relying on gambling, Xia Yu planned to put on a disguise in order to avoid being recognized by people. The best way is to use makeup, one of the 4 great magic arts. Unfortunately, a penny stumps heroes, can't afford cosmetics, and memory is useless. Turn left and right, and finally came to the outside of an abandoned factory. The factory gate was only partly open. There were a few people shaking at the door, obviously to prevent slivers. Xia Yu was not afraid, and walked directly towards the gate. The gatekeeper only glanced at Xia Yu and didn't care much when he saw that it was probably a child, but one of them didn't seem to believe that a child had any money. He thought he was looking for a place to play, so he suddenly said, "Child, you are not here to play, go back." Xia Yu did not intentionally lower his head, but rather said usually, "I came here to play a few." Speaking, Xia Yu took out $12 from his pocket and shook it. Seeing that Xia Yu was indeed here to gamble, the man didn't say any more, as long as they were sure that the visitor was a guest, they didn't need to stop it. "Go in." Then, Xia Yu walked inside. As soon as he entered, he found that it was crowded, similar to a vegetable market. After scanning, Xia Yu found that there were at least 100 people here, and the scale was not small. As soon as left, there was a lot of noisy voices of various betting and shouting. Of course, Xia Yu Yuguang also caught a glimpse of some people patrolling here. Each of them is relatively tall, and you don't need to think about it to know that they are the people of the gambling house. The purpose is to supervise these gamblers, prevent people from paying thousands, and keep an eye on the people who have made money. If you encounter a master, treat it specially to reduce losses. Of course, Xia Yu doesn't doubt that if someone makes trouble here, these people definitely don't mind letting people see the cruelty of society, such as, sandbag big fist. Without thinking too much, Xia Yu went straight into the crowd, holding the money in his hand, and began to observe calmly, just not betting right away. Knowing yourself, knowing the enemy, you will win all battles. First look at what gambling method is here, and then look at the characteristics of these bookmakers. Wait until you know in your heart. Xia Yu can think about the approximate steps. Anyway, Xia Yu made up his mind after entering this, just 4 words, hold on. Don't wave. After a while, Xia Yu strolled around, already knowing it, there is no need to wait any longer. He found a place with a lot of people and moved over. It was a dice-rolling bank. He had seen it just now. The game-playing technique is not strong, and it can be said that there is almost no technique. It is completely luck to sit the bank, but his position it has been reformed, and there are ways to pay thousands. But it doesn't matter. Xia Yu doesn't plan to bet too much to force him to pay 1,000. He just needs to make money low-key. Who made enough money for a game? Although several dozen times of bets were made directly, the funds definitely rolled up and down, but this is a death-seeking behavior, and you have to go out. In other people's places, it's not up to others to decide whether it's black or white. If they are determined to lift the table and say that Xia Yu is 1,000, what can Xia Yu do? So, it's better to make a fortune with a muffled voice, with a long stream of water, a little bit of digging, and a brick every day. The corner of the wall can definitely be dug down. Come on, I've placed a bet, I'm sure to leave. The dealer shook the dice again, held the bowl in one hand, and began to shout loudly. Seeing gamblers around him betting one after another, ranging from dozens to hundreds, even a handful of thousands, Xia Yu directly drew out 50 Hong Kong dollars to overwhelm him. He has already heard it. 3 dice. The number of points is 5, 5 and 4. Buy and leave, open. Don't let it go. After finishing talking, the dealer turned over the big bowl directly, and saw that the points with 3 dice facing up were impressively 5, 5 and 4. Xia Yu's face was calm, and he wasn't self-satisfied. For the gambler in memory, listening to dice was just a simple technique, and there was nothing to be contented about. 5, 5, 4, big, buy big ones and make money, take money to get money. Once and again, 50 became 100, Xia Yu continued to bet. Next, Xia Yu won a few more hands, then deliberately lost a hand, and then went on to bet a few dozen less, a few hundred more, winning more and losing less. During this process, Xia Yu always stuffed the money he earned into the inner pocket of his clothes when people were not paying attention, and the money in his hand was always no more than 500. At the same time, Xia Yu didn't forget to perform. He kept quiet when he won, and always sighed when he lost, leading others to think that he had lost miserably. The acting skills are probably enough for the Oscar statuette. Yu reading www.yuyukenangshu.com. An hour passed without knowing it. Xia Yu held only more than $100 in his hand, but no one knew that the inner pocket of his clothes was already filled with money, although Xia Yu did not remember how many, but he estimated that at least 3,000 Hong Kong dollars. Didn't stay in a bank for too long to avoid the banker's reaction to the fact that the amount of money was wrong and suspect him. Xia Yu changed another villager and continued the routine just now. One morning passed, Xia Yu's bloated coat was already full of money, but he lost golden light in his hands, and there was nothing left. Also arrived at the dinner point, many people began to leave, preparing to go home for dinner. Xia Yu also walked outside among the crowd. While walking outside, Xia Yu also found that someone was observing the people who left. You don't have to think about knowing that it was the people in the casino observing who made the money. Xia Yu looked at a red-faced person next to him, and found that he had been seen several times by the people in the casino. He shook his head silently in his heart. It is estimated that if this person comes again, he won't let him go if he doesn't let him lose all his underwear. Thinking about returning, Xia Yu looked frustrated when he was passing by the casino, muttering, "Damn, I don't have any money to eat, it seems I have to find a fat sheep to spend some money." Vaguely, Xia Yu also saw the mockery in that person's eyes. Xia Yu ignored it, successfully walked out of the gambling shop, and then found that no one was following, quickly returned home and entered the room. After closing the door, Xia Yu began to pay from the clothes. A lot of them were taken out and put them on the table to make sure that there was no money on the clothes. Xia Yu threw the clothes aside and saw a hill of Hong Kong dollars on the table. He smiled and then quickly counted. "Stand up. 100, 200, 300. Rebirth of the Strongest Tycoon Chapter 7, Legacy. 14,360. After confirming the numbers, the smile on Xia Yu's face couldn't be hidden. The money came quickly. Although he had seen hundreds of millions of dollars for the gambler in his memory, it was the gambler's after all. The memory can't be taken out. And now the more than 4,000 Hong Kong dollars is real money. The money that can solve Xia Yu's problem is only real when it is touched. It took a 400,000 character novel to submit a manuscript to get less than 10,000 manuscript fees. It took so many days. But now it's only 14,000 in the morning. No wonder so many people in the world gamble for money. This money is so easy to come by, it's easy to get addicted. Xia Yu said with emotion. But he was not stunned. He has the memory of a master gambling player. He knows all the inside stories about spinach. After knowing these truths, if he still gets lost, his brain is definitely broken. He has always been sober, relying on gambling only to earn the first pot of gold, and then start his own business. Otherwise, no matter how much money he makes by gambling, he will have to see the light. Continue to work hard. This more than 4,000 Hong Kong dollars is not enough to buy a newspaper. As far as the plan is concerned, it is still a lot worse. Let's go again in the afternoon. Xia Yu murmured, looking at the pile of money on the desk, narrowing his eyes. After eating at noon, Xia Yu went to the casino again, and earned more than 16,000 Hong Kong dollars in one afternoon, plus 30,000 in the morning. At dinner in the evening, Xia Yu's parents just asked about where to go. After Xia Yu made up a random reason, they stopped asking more. They were very relieved that they had not worried about their son since they were young. In the evening, Xia Yu didn't go to the gambling shop again. After all, the night was the time when snakes and rats were rampant. He didn't need to go out to avoid unnecessary trouble. Of course, at home, he was not idle, and continued to copy the novel with pen and paper. After all, copying more now will save more time to deal with other things in the future. "Hey, brother, are you writing a novel?" Just as Xia Yu concentrated on copying the novel, his younger brother Xia Ming's voice came from behind. Xia Yu raised his head and realized that his younger brother didn't know when he stood behind him, looking at the novel he had written curiously. Xia Yu did not deny it, smiled and said, "Yes, you are done with your homework." "It's done, don't worry, brother." Earlier, Xia Yu had considered the situation of his family discovering when he wrote a novel. He didn't intend to hide it. Instead, he would deliberately let his family know in the future. After all, this was a bargaining chip to persuade his parents to agree to drop out of school. Although he can make a lot of money by relying on gambling, he can't use that money out, there is no way to explain it. But he still has to talk about his wealth in the future, so there must be a reason, and writing a novel is a good explanation. First of all, his father believed in the words of the master and always said that Xia Yu was a literary and musical star, and Xia Yu was really good at learning, and it was normal to be able to write novels. Secondly, because of Jin Yong and other masters of martial arts novels, the status of writers in Xiangjiang is also very high, and everyone knows that writers' income is very high. Don't you see that Ming Pao, which is worth at least tens of millions of Hong Kong dollars, is not gold? Yong developed by writing novels. Writing novels has both face and leeway. When Xia Yu's Sun Qin Ji is popular in Xiangjiang, the weight of Xia Yu's words will be very heavy. When the time comes to talk to his parents about dropping out, parents must also seriously consider. Of course, let the parents know that he can't write the novel so quickly, and you must wait for him to produce the results. At that time, it will be more shocking. Therefore, Xia Yu told his brother, aiming, don't let my parents know that I am writing a novel, you know. Okay, don't worry, brother, I promise you won't talk about it. Xia Ming raised her head and said, with no mention of it. By the way, brother, can you show me the novel you wrote? After hesitating, Xia Ming said with a bit of temptation, looking at Xia Yu's eyes full of expectation. Xia Yu smiled knowingly. He knew that he was influenced by him, and his younger brother Xia Ming also liked to read martial arts novels. The book, The Legend of the Condor Heroes, in his room was turned over 5 or 6 times by his brother, and his brother was definitely a loyal martial artist. Novel Iron Fan. The manuscript at the beginning is in my drawer. Go get it yourself. Just be careful not to mess it up for me. Xia Yu smiled and pointed to the drawer and said. Okay, don't worry, brother. Xia Ming said happily, and then hurriedly opened the drawer next to him, took out the manuscript, and looked at it. After a while, he was fascinated by it. Then, Xia Yu ignored his younger brother and continued to devote himself to the great cause of creation. In the next 2 days, Xia Yu went to the gambling shop again. By the next night, his funds had reached more than 120,000. In this era when workers' wages were only a few hundred a month, it was considered small. Have assets. But, thinking of what happened in the afternoon, a trace of regret flashed in his eyes. Yu reading www.yuyukeungshu.com. After 3 days, about 120,000 funds flowed out, and the gambling shop also noticed something wrong. Xia Yu discovered in the afternoon that the frequency of patrols by the people watching the venues was also higher, and the dealers also looked at the gamblers from time to time. Xia Yu could feel that someone was suspicious of him. Fortunately, he noticed it in time and gambled a lot. Just dismiss others' attention. But from then on, Xia Yu consciously stopped, and went home until he was almost ready for dinner. It seems that the gambling shop can't go, it's a pity. Xia Yu is a little regretful. After all, although he has more than 120,000 funds, it is enough to buy a small newspaper or run a small newspaper by himself, but it does not suit him. Plan of. If implemented according to his plan, the more than 120,000 funds will not be enough, and some more funds must be raised. Could it be another gambling house? An idea flashed through Xia Yu's mind, and he immediately rejected it. Gambling workshops are all run by associations. For many associations, a lot of news is shared. Xia Yu was originally the subject of suspicion. If he goes to another gambling house, if he is discovered by the first gambling house, it is impossible to guarantee that he will not doubt it. If he is found, it will be a bad thing. And his family, Xia Yu didn't want to take this risk. It's just that the problem of lack of funds has to be resolved. In that case, let's get money from the stock market. Just take a look at what the Shangjiang stock market is like in this era, or get a feel for it. By the way, familiarize yourself with the memory. Thinking of the memories of the financial giants in his mind, Xia Yu's eyes squinting slightly, the corners of his mouth raised slightly, muttering to himself. After making a decision, looking at the darkness outside the window, he can only devote himself to the great cause of creation again, and the matter of going to stocks will have to wait until tomorrow. Rebirth of the Strongest Tycoon Chapter 8, Stock Market Second. Early the next morning, Xia Yu went out after breakfast. He did not go to the stock market first, but came to HSBC with a large pile of cash. After handling an account, he handed the money to the staff. The staff looked at Xia Yu in surprise. He couldn't think of it. This teenager can come up with so much money, and many of them are change. He could guess that the money seemed to be something wrong. After all, a young man would have given so much money, as long as he was not a fool, he would doubt it. But he didn't ask too much, as long as he did his job well, there was no need to cause trouble. Xia Yu didn't care about the staff's attitude. After handling the account, Xia Yu left the HSBC business hall and set off for the Kowloon Stock Exchange. Coming to the outside of the Kowloon Stock Exchange, although it was not time to open the market, many people had gathered here. Xia Yu smiled as he watched the crowds inside. Although Xiangjiang has not yet become an international financial city for later generations, there are already some signs, as can be seen from the stock market. Of course, there are some reasons for the rise of the Hong Kong stock market. First of all, most of the population in Xiangjiang comes from the southeast of the mainland. Chaos Han people are very gambling and do business. Therefore, the Hong Kong stock market is very prosperous, and it can be said that almost everyone can trade in stocks. This situation has provided a huge stockholder base for the Hong Kong stock market. Secondly, the later generation of Xiangjiang River became an international financial city because of geographical reasons. Xiangjiang is a window of the mainland to the outside world. With the support of a population of more than 1 billion people, it is strange that Xiangjiang does not take off. In Hong Kong, the stock market price can be seen as the Hang Seng Index publicly released by the Hang Seng Bank in 1969, referred to as the Hang Seng Index. The prosperity of the Hong Kong stock market can be seen from the 4 stock exchanges in Hong Kong. The future existence of the Hong Kong Stock Exchange has not yet appeared, and it will not officially operate until 1986. At present, the 4 major exchanges of the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, established in 1947, the Far East Stock Exchange, established in 1969, the Gold and Silver Stock Exchange, established in 1971, and the Kowloon Stock Exchange, established in 1972, coexist. Situation. Because he lives in the Kowloon area, Xia Yu didn't want to be near and far, but directly chose the Kowloon Stock Exchange. After all, he only has such a small amount of capital, which is the same everywhere. While the market is not open, buy some newspapers first and see if there is any useful information. Xia Yu thought for a while and walked directly to the newsstand not far from the door. I have to say that those who come to the exchange are not bad at money and understand the importance of news. Of course, newspapers that can provide news are their first choice. Therefore, the business of the newsstand was very good. The owner of the newsstand couldn't collect the money. Xia Yu didn't pick and choose. He took a copy of various newspapers and paid to leave. No time wasted. Xia Yu started reading directly from the top Chinese Journal of Economics, and did not care about other current affairs and entertainment news. He turned directly to the economic and financial section, browsed quickly, and memorized useful information. Time passed in Xia Yu's concentration. After half an hour, Xia Yu read the news and analysis of more than a dozen newspapers, then closed his eyes and meditated. The exact news in these newspapers, Xia Yu focused on memorizing, and then integrated all the news that could be linked and integrated, and he really got some useful news for him. As for the analysis of those editors in the newspaper, Xia Yu could not deny it. Judging from his fusion of the memories of so many financial tycoons, the analysis of these so-called experts can be said to be relatively naive, and some analysis is full of loopholes. Even if the analysis is correct, the analysis is relatively simple, and ordinary people can't find it even if they look at it, which is completely useless to Xia Yu. Of course, even so, Xia Yu also discovered that some of the editor's analysis had some unique insights, and the level was much higher. He paid special attention to it, such as Hong Kong Economic Journal, Sing Tao Daily, Ming Pao, etc. Several large newspapers. The time is up, the market is open. Just then, a voice came from the Kowloon Stock Exchange, and it was time. Xia Yu stood up, patted his pants, and walked towards the Kowloon Stock Exchange. As for the newspapers he bought, he lost all of them. To him, it was no longer useful. Everything that should be recorded was already in his mind. After entering the Kowloon Stock Exchange, Xia Yu walked towards the HSBC Securities Investment Department. If he wants to trade stocks, he needs to open an account first. After opening the account, Xia Yu stood in the hall and observed. Although it was only in 1978, there are already many companies listed on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Although most of the companies are owned by the so-called big and small families of the Hong Kong, there are also companies started by grassroots tycoons. After all, most of the people in Xiangjiang are from the southeast of the mainland. These places have a strong business atmosphere. Zhejiang merchants, Wenzhou merchants, Chaos Han merchants, etc., all have a daring personality, so it is normal for some people to break the ground. Because there are many listed companies, Xia Yu didn't have so much time to analyze them one by one, so he started searching directly based on the useful information obtained in the newspaper. Blue Water Business. Is it? Blue Water Commercial Company is a small company with a single business chain and poor anti-risk ability. A bit of trouble can easily affect the stock price. According to the news in the newspaper, another company in the same field that is several times larger than Blue Water Commercial invested in with a large amount of funds to develop new products. Yu read www.yuukangshu.com, and according to the clues, Joshin Commercial should have succeeded at this time, and the news is about to be released. In addition, the stock price of Lanshui Commercial has fluctuated slightly in the past few days. Someone should have received some news. Xia Yu guessed that it might have been done by people from Joshin Commercial. He planned to take the opportunity to release news and cut the meat of Lanshui Commercial and retail investors. Therefore, Xia Yu has two choices: buy Joshin business up, or buy Blue Water business down. That is, it is often said to do long-term business, or short Blue Water business. And because the scale of Joshin business is several times that of Lanshui business, and the plate is much larger, even if it is good news, the increase of Joshin business will not exceed the decline of Blue Water business. So relatively speaking, buying Blue Water business will make more profit. Coupled with Xia Yu's plan to use 5 times the leverage, the profit is absolutely considerable. Of course, the risk of short selling is also greater. If, after buying the Blue Water business and falling, encounter the dealer forcibly raising the stock price, Xia Yu uses 5 times the leverage, it is likely to be liquidated. It depends on when the news of Joshin business broke up. However, risks and benefits coexist. Judging from the memories of the financial tycoons in Xia Yu's mind, the risk of a business decline in buying Blue Water with 5 times leverage is negligible, so Xia Yu is not afraid of this risk. What's more, the money comes too easily. Even if it is a loss, Xia Yu feels distressed at most. Big deal, take another risk and go to Hong Kong Island and spend a day or two to earn it back. I thought about it again and found that there was nothing missing. Xia Yu came to the seat of HSBC's investment department. Ignoring the staff's somewhat surprised gaze, he directly allocated funds with 5 times leverage, leveraging 600,000 funds to buy Blue Water. 120,000 funds are considered to be too much among retail accounts, and they are already eligible to apply for 5 times leverage to allocate funds. Rebirth of the Strongest Tycoon Chapter 9, Stable First More. After the confirmation, HSBC's investment department placed an empty bill of 600,000 Blue Water business, which was eaten by other institutions within a short time. Seeing this, Xia Yu was relieved. Empty orders are actually orders that are sold first and bought later, which is a bit like a commercial credit transaction model. Most of the empty orders are received between institutions, and the institutions that receive these 600,000 empty orders are estimated to lose money. For those institutions, this amount of money can only be regarded as a small amount, and Xia Yu will not be noticed if it loses. What's more, it was not Xia Yu's hand, but HSBC's investment department. For this small amount of money, Xia Yu could not be found, so Xia Yu was not worried about exposure. Then, Xia Yu left it alone, bought a notebook and pen, found a place to sit down, and began to record and analyze, so that he could be as familiar with the Shenzhen stock market at this time. Just after Xia Yu asked HSBC's investment department to place an empty order for Blue Water Commercial, he was on another seat on the Kowloon Stock Exchange. An employee who was following Lanshui's business news in real time showed shock on his face and quickly stood up and walked towards the manager's position. "Boss, in addition to us, there are people who have put out an empty order for Blue Water business. The order of 600,000 funds has been eaten," the staff member said in the ear of the manager. Hearing what he said, the manager frowned, his eyes sharpened, and he muttered, "Could it be that the news has been leaked?" Thinking of this, the manager's mind turned sharply. After a while, he asked, "Have our planned goals been completed?" "Boss, there is a gap of 2 million Hong Kong dollars from the planned quota. The other empty orders have been found to take over. The plan is expected to be completed this afternoon," the employee said without hesitation. He kept remembering this data every time how many orders were placed. He has records. "Don't wait for the afternoon, think of a way to hang out all this morning, and don't let others steal the profit. The manager waved his hand and ordered directly. Good boss, I'm going now. The employee nodded, and then walked directly to the seat, preparing to place an empty order. The manager was not free, so he went directly to the office, picked up the phone and dialed a number. Zhang Sheng, there may be some problems with the plan, the news may have been leaked, and other agencies have found out. So in order to avoid accidents, I hope your news will be announced at noon today, don't wait until tomorrow. Okay, thank you Zhang Sheng. After finishing the phone call, the manager relieved the slightly raised heart, and then followed up the progress of the employee's pending orders. During this, the manager also asked people to inquire about the news, and found that it was an empty order issued by HSBC. After receiving this news, the manager was shocked, it turned out to be HSBC. If HSBC really ends, it will definitely the meat from his mouth, and definitely have the ability to it. After all, in Xiangjiang, HSBC can be said to be a giant, even if it is only a branch of the Securities Investment Department, it will be more than a large securities company. Cattle. And the manager has no doubt that HSBC does have the strength to get the exact news. After knowing that it was the empty order issued by HSBC, the manager did not dare to delay any more and directly urged his subordinates to speed up the order. Until the 2 million empty order was listed and was eaten, the morning was about to pass, and when the stock market was officially closed for adjustment, there were still no other empty orders listed, and the manager was completely relieved and smiled. It seems that a certain HSBC employee is a little skeptical, so I put an empty order of 600,000 yuan to test the water, which is much better than expected. Fortunately, the goal is expected to be completed ahead of schedule. Of course, it's impossible for Xia Yu to know that the 600,000 empty order he asked HSBC's investment department to put up a department manager of a securities company. Even if he did, he would just smile and ignore it. This is the prestige of HSBC, but not his. That's how the morning time passed. During this period of time, although there were empty orders, Lanshui commercial stock price rose a little, causing Xia Yufu to lose some money, but Xia Yu didn't care about it after looking at it. There is still some distance from the liquidation. And he has seen it, it is a sign of preparation. Sure enough, during the lunch break, there was a piece of news in TVB's news about Jiuxing commercial, which was exactly the same as Xia Yu analyzed. When he saw this news, the corners of Xia Yu's mouth rose slightly. Stable. Unsurprisingly, not long after the market opened in the afternoon, Jiuxing commercial stock price flew upwards like a rocket. At the same time, several other companies in the same industry are unlucky. After all, this industry is relatively small, and there are only a few listed companies, and Jiuxing is the leader in this industry. It happened that the boss broke the good news, and the market is so big, Jiuxing commercial can be expected to grab more market than for several other listed companies in the same industry. This is bad news. Sure enough, the stock prices of several other companies started to fall. Among these companies, Blue Water has the worst commercial strength and a relatively single profit method, so the ability to resist risks is the worst and the least favored. Most of the damage caused by Jiuxing's good business has been transferred to Blue Water. Up. Plus there are institutions shorting, the stock price is like a laxative, and the stock price plummets. When Blue Water's stock price plummeted, those institutions that received empty orders also responded, but in the face of the general trend, the risk was too great, and they chose to give up instead of making unnecessary struggles. When Lanshui commercial stock price began to plummet, Yu reading www.yuukangshu.com Xia Yu sat firmly on the Diaoyutai, waiting for the final payment. The general trend has been achieved, and Lanshui commercial is destined to be stepped on by Jiuxing commercial, and there is no chance to come back. Of course, although Xia Yu has determined that he can make money, he did not waste time. He still analyzed the situation of various companies in the stock market according to the plan, looking for opportunities to take advantage of. In the next 3 days, the stock market was still open, and Blue Water's stock price continued to fall. Every day, there were negative news about Blue Water. Although it was in small newspapers, it still caused the Blue Water stock price hurt. Xia Yu doesn't have to guess. It must be a message from a short-selling Blue Water business organization, praying for maximum profit, so as to absorb the blood of Blue Water business as much as possible, and make the stock price of Blue Water business fall as much as possible. As for Blue Water business, will it go bankrupt? This is none of their business. Their purpose is only one, to make money. Make money. Make money. Xia Yu didn't have to do anything, he just took a ride and let other agencies work hard, he took the opportunity to eat some meat. This is the function of ability. Even those who are able to trade in stocks can make money by taking a ride, avoiding risks and withdrawing funds in time. Those who are incapable of trading in stocks can only look at luck, resignation to fate, and the mood of the dealer. They don't know when they lose money. In the past 3 days, Xia Yu stayed in the Kowloon Stock Exchange during the day to analyze stocks and record useful information. The notebook was full. In the evening, Xia Yu copied the novel at home. After 3 days, he also copied 60,000 words. Adding the previous 420,000 words, 480,000 words have been collected, and he is one step closer to finishing copying. Of course, how many words copied in the novel is not the point. The point is that after 3 days, Xia Yu made a lot of money. The total capital has become